So this is how you can be making more profit from every single client that you close. If you run a coaching or consulting business, doing between about 500K to 5 million per year, and you run a client success department within your company, within your offer. So let's get into it. Your current team right now is leaving money on the table every single month because at the end of the day, client success in most businesses, coaching, consulting, service-based businesses is reactive, which means if the client has a question, client success answers it. If the client misses a call, they follow up. If the client is struggling, they escalate it. If the client asks for a refund, they panic. And I'm not saying that any of these things are bad. I'm saying that they are bad in isolation. They negatively affect your scalability, your profitability. If there is nothing else proactive that is also added to your client success to make sure that there is revenue being generated and it is not just client management. So what should your team, what should your department be doing instead? Instead of keeping clients from leaving, the mandate, I'll say, should be to generate revenue from the clients that are already there. It's the same team, it's the same people, but the job, the context of what they're doing, why they're doing it is completely different. And we're gonna walk through that in this video. So what does that look like? There's gonna be 4 frameworks and I'm gonna walk you through each one. First off is an early win tracking. This is between days 1 through 7. This is so paramount to increasing LTV long term. And it's almost this juxtaposition of like, wait, I can increase LTV, long-term client value, within the first couple of days after I sign them? Yes, you absolutely can. I'm going to walk you through how. The second is belief spike identification. This is usually between about weeks 2 through 4. The third is Ascension readiness scoring, somewhere in the middle of the offer. And then renewal and continuation design, which is about 6 to 8 weeks before the end of your offer, or perhaps even earlier than that as well. And every one of these is a revenue moment. Every one of these has a potential to bring you in additional revenue in the back end. And when you bring in revenue in the back end, also, it's a lot healthier for your margin than when you bring in revenue on the front end because you're always acquiring them from ads or from marketing or any sort of marketing spend. This is revenue that comes to you with very minimal customer acquisition cost, if any at all. So let's get into each one. First one is early win tracking. So the reactive version of this is the client hits an early win and client success team will note it. They'll document it in their file, Go High Level, HubSpot, whatever it is. And then maybe they get, the client gets a, hey, that was awesome. Congratulations, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Instead, the revenue mandate for this would be the client hits an early win, the team acknowledges it, and then specifically runs a soft referral ask. Now, I get into this in another video here on the channel, and which I will tag below. But just a very simple explanation, a soft referral ask is when you're asking for them to share a resource on your behalf with someone else that they might believe would also value from what you have going from your offer. That will usually be something like a custom Loom video that you're already making for the client that you say, hey, by the way, can you share, who is one person that that you could share this with that would also value from getting help with XYZ. The hard referral ask is much more direct. That's going to be your much more traditional, who is the one person that that you could introduce me to. But the context that you're asking that in isn't, everybody asks for referrals. They say, oh, well, if there's anybody that or how many would you know? No, it's ask for one. Be very direct. And also, the hard referral ask needs to come off of the back of a very large win, a piece of very significant unmarketed delivery, something like that, where the belief that they have in the program, in you, and the offer is very strong. So with that context, in the clients that I work with, coaching, consulting, service-based businesses doing between about 500K to 5 million a year, there are opportunities, believe it or not, within the first days after somebody says yes and signs and joins your program, joins your offer, to ask for referrals. And that is a revenue event because you're getting people in the door to have a conversation about working with you. So yes, obviously we talk about client success here a lot, but at the end of the day, it's revenue, it's sales. That is so key to all of this. So the key is having your team know how and when to ask for the referrals. That is the crux of all of this. So many client success teams that I've worked with do not know how to ask for referrals. It's like they don't have the sales training, they don't have the sales background, the sales backbone, let's say, to be able to navigate the potentially difficult conversation of having to ask for a referral. A, because they don't have the right scripting. B, they don't have the right frameworks. C, they don't have the right mindset going into it. And so I think that client success can definitely lean on more of a sales mindset from time to time. In this case, definitely being one of those. But the main part that I want to get into with all of this is that this acknowledgement instills belief, and then the ask captures the moment of highest belief in week 1, in the first couple of days. And if you watch my onboarding video, there's a video I made about AI enhanced onboarding. Essentially, you can, I hate using the word artificial, but it's really what it is, artificially engineer a moment of very high belief where the client has a very significant win that aligns with one of the promises you made them on the sales call within the first couple of days. Also check out that video. I'll also link that below. That would be a perfect moment to soft ask for a referral. So the question to ask for all of this is, what percentage of new clients get a specific acknowledgement within 48 hours of their first win? And honestly, I'll be completely honest, 48 hours is a little bit too long. Unless it's a weekend, I would say 24. If that percentage is 0 or on the negative side of 50, closer to 0, I would say that is a very leaky bucket that I would absolutely encourage you to address. Give your team the proper scripting, the proper frameworks, the proper mindset to go into conversations with current clients to ask them for referrals, ask them for upsells, etc., which we'll get into in a second. And of course, if you'd like any help with that, comment the word audit below, and I will send you a free personalized audit going over the back end of your business to tell you exactly how you can be making more profit for every customer. So the next thing is the belief spike. So this is going to be more of a throughout the program, throughout your offer situation. The first time is going to happen, somewhere along, weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. But the client has a breakthrough and client success is happy for them. It's something, this is a reactive version. It's something like, oh, hey, that's fantastic. They're just glad that the client isn't causing an issue or glad that the client doesn't have a question at the very moment. The revenue mandate for this would be the client has a breakthrough, client success logs it, runs a soft referral ask, and flags it for an Ascension readiness check. Now, what's an Ascension readiness check? This is where you are going to have criteria for every single customer that you work with. And again, I made another video on this. I will link it below. This is where you're going to have criteria for every single customer that you work with that goes against the marks, that checks them against 4 specific criteria. And if once they check yes to all 4 of those criteria, they're ready to be spoken to regarding an upsell. And so it's always this question of like, oh, well, when do I ask for the upsell? Do I ask for it at the end? Do I try and find a way to do it at the beginning? You can systematically make sure that if these readiness markers are checked, that the person could statistically be most ready for a conversation about an upsell. It's that simple. So, but you can do this, or you can contribute to those markers, the tracking of those markers at key belief spikes, at key moments throughout the client journey. Again, you just have to train your team to know when and how to identify these. The problem, the mismatch between this would be a belief spike with no ask attached is a missed referral and a missed upsell opportunity. So the question would be, does your client success team know what a belief spike looks like and what to do when one happens? Again, if the answer is no, happy to help. Let me know. The third moment that is a really big revenue opportunity, again, is the Ascension readiness. And these are the 4 criteria. Before anybody gets pitched an upsell, client success will check. They have hit a real defined outcome. And the part actually here that this is missing, small caveat, is they have hit a real defined outcome that was promised to them in the sales call. Point blank, end of story. It cannot be something that they came into the program or came into your offer not expecting, not asking for, not knowing they wanted right off the bat. It has to be something that directly links back to their desire to work with you. Because if it doesn't, they will only ever look at it as a bonus. They will not look at it as a closed loop. I paid for this, I got this, end of story. They will look at it as, I paid for this, I got this thing over here, but I didn't actually get the thing I paid for. And even if the thing they got instead is more inherently valuable, even more valuable to them than the thing that they paid for, they will still only ever look at you and your ecosystem of value that you have as lower in leverage than it should be, or than it could be viewed in their mind. Because again, they didn't get what they specifically paid for. So it has to be connected back to a promise. Second, they're showing up consistently. You don't have any issues with how consistently they put in discretionary effort. The trust is strong and the drama is low. Trust being you say to do something, they do it. They trust your intuition. They trust your judgment. They trust your instruction. And the drama is low, meaning, of course, that they're not causing any issues with you, other clients. They're not a difficult client to work with. And the fourth one, and I would argue, honestly, beyond the first thing, this is the most important. They have a clear next problem that the upsell solves. One of the biggest mistakes that I see so many coaching service consulting offers making is having an upsell that's something like, get more help with XYZ, get more help with your sales calls, get more help with your marketing, get more help with losing weight, which is the exact same premise, or the exact same promise, in essence, of what they came into the offer originally for, the initial offer, the initial container. And the problem with this is that they're sitting there thinking to themselves, well, if I already paid to help me lose weight, why would I pay again if the first time didn't work enough to the point where I don't need to lose any more weight. Like it doesn't work. Logically, it doesn't work. So the upsell needs to be based around a problem that A, they did not have before working with you, and B, they now have because they have solved the problems that they came to you to solve in your initial offer. So upsells only work at scale when they meet those two criteria. And so they have a next problem that the upsell solves, a problem that they did not previously have before working with you. So client success will then own this check, this system of checks, not the founder, not sales. And then as we talked about, this is another opportunity for massive revenue on the back end, because if your team knows when and how to identify these moments, when all of this happens, perfect opportunity to pitch an upsell. The fourth thing is continuation. So this is for the client who you've maybe perhaps determined that an upsell perhaps isn't the right fit right now, or you've decided to, kind of maybe it's a downsell, maybe it's simply a continuation in the same offer that you're in. That's absolutely fine. Just because the person does not need to upsell essentially to continue working with you. The continuation happening sometime between mid-program review, and then the end. So somewhere in here, honestly, the earlier the better. And the goal with all of this is that regardless of what the continuation looks like, whether it's a true continuation of the same program, whether it's an upsell, whether it's a downsell, the goal is that you want to initiate it at the moment of highest belief, not at the end when the momentum is gone. And the argument I always hear for this as well, you always want to make sure that you ask when the results look the greatest. Well, the results are going to look, quote unquote, the greatest at the end. But the problem is they're already thinking about the other thing, and they're looking back to the sales call saying, did I get everything I was promised? And the answer, unfortunately, with most offers is probably no. So the reality is that's actually one of the worst times to ask. So ask when their belief that they will achieve results is highest, regardless of whether they've achieved the results or not. Do not ask when the momentum and when the progress looks the greatest. So the question here is, does your client success team have a design conversion for that window, or does the program just end? So let's talk about the tactics for installing all of these. What it takes is a revenue scorecard with 4 numbers that your client success team is going to own every month, and we're going to get into that in a second. The scripts, the hard-ass script, soft-ass script, Ascension handoff script, continuation opener, et cetera, et cetera. I find it so incredibly just baffling that we, as an industry, high-ticket online business, coaching, consulting, sales, coaching, consulting, service, even SaaS to some extent, I find it completely baffling that we script out every single moment of the sales call within an inch of its life. Every single piece of marketing copy is poured over by everybody with a pulse. But we don't script out what it looks like to ask for a referral, to upsell a client, to ask the client to continue in the same offer, to ask for a testimonial. We don't script out what it looks like when the client brings you a referral, how you transition that into a sales call with that person. We don't script out any of that. We don't even script out just simply how to have a call where the client isn't coming on for 30 minutes or an hour, just wasting the person's time talking about this, that, and the other thing, or how to prep for regular calls with clients to make sure that they are achieving results scalably at a good pace, so that way systematically at scale you do not need to be involved in delivery as much. Like we don't script any of this. We don't prep any of this. And so this scripting, this preparation is paramount. And then the last thing is triggers. And this is a part of the scripting, of course, but having your team be able to know, have them trained on what an early win looks like. What trigger are you looking for that says to you, okay, cool, this client not only just experienced, of course, an early win or a win in general, but they know it. They can feel it. And I'll get into this on other videos, but an early win, same with a belief spike, same with a mid-program review, same with when they're ready to talk about a continuation offer of any kind, upsell, downsell, continue, whatever. Putting in this infrastructure into your client success team, that is what will allow you to turn this into a true revenue function. So what is your revenue scorecard? There are 4 numbers that I always recommend as an initial kind of phase of this. And there's, of course, many more. But there's 4 numbers that I recommend all CS teams to track. And you probably haven't heard of most of these before. Or at the very least, you probably have not had your team track most of these before. First is an early win rate percentage. Percentage of new clients that are hitting a defined win within the first 7 days. And honestly, 7 days is even a little long. I usually like to say 72 hours. And you might be like, whoa, that is really difficult to do because like we're still signing docs. We're still like it's the onboarding process. Well, it's 2026. Get with it. The onboarding process is where you either need to show up for your client or get out of the way so they can find somebody who will. Like just real talk. Because the problem is everybody has been burned before. They are sitting there and they are looking at, is this program going to be different? Is this offer going to be different? Are these people going to be different? Or am I just going to get burned again? And the quicker that you, well, let me put it this way. If you do not specifically engineer an environment where you are creating their answer to that question with a resounding hell yes, you are ipso facto creating an answer that is hell no. And it's not anywhere in between. You have to differentiate yourself by not only speed to result, but then quality and efficiency of result as well. And I talk about this in a couple other videos that I've made about how to have AI enhanced onboarding to make sure that you are scalably, systematically achieving early wins within the first 48 to 72 hours after they say yes. Again, check out those videos. The second piece is a referral ask rate. So the percentage of clients that were asked at a belief spike moment. Now, this is going to be more of a cultural kind of indoctrination for your team. This isn't going to be something that's necessarily, pragmatic. What's the right word for this? We'll go with pragmatic. This is going to be something that's more of a, yes, you asked, cool. I know it really, you coaching your team, I know it really sucked. I know it was really hard, but you did it. That's great. Fantastic. Let's go over it and let's try it again. Like this is going to be something that's much more along the lines of like a sales training type of situation. Cause really that's what it is. It is sales training. Asking for a referral to get somebody to give you their discretionary effort to introduce you to somebody else is sales training. So percentage of clients that were asked at a belief spike moment, this ideally at scale should be 100%. This, don't get scared when I say this should be 90% plus. The third is Ascension readiness flag. So the number of clients that were flagged and reviewed at midpoint. The other part of this is the percentage of clients that, not the number, but the percentage of clients that achieved all 4 of those checkpoints before 50% of the program. That number should be 70 to 80%, if not higher. And then the last thing you're going to track is continuation conversations. The number of continuation conversations started 6 to 8 weeks before program ends. Another way to put this again is percentage of people that were spoken to about a continuation in some way, shape, or form. Upsell, downsell, continue, whatever it is. That should also be 7. That's a conversation to be had. That should also be 100%. These two should be 100%. Referral rate ask and continuation conversation. That is simply a conversation that you will train your CS team or whoever's doing your fulfillment to have. That should be done 100% of the time at scale. That one's going to be about 90. That one's going to be about 70, 80%. These 4 numbers will tell you whether your CS team is a revenue function or a support function. Now, the thing that I want to point out as we wrap up this video is all of these things right here are leading indicators. They are not lagging indicators. You are not, ideally, yes, do you want to track your team on, cool, how much revenue did you create in the back end of the business? How much, how much, specific lines of each of those revenue, how much referral revenue, how much upsell revenue, how much downsell revenue, how many continuation offers said yes. Obviously, yes. Are those things you want to track? Are those the things you want to install? Yes. But can you go from not tracking anything revenue related, having a CS team department that is completely reactive, to one that is revenue focused, that has a revenue mandate? You cannot. It is cruel. It is unnecessarily difficult for them. It is stressful. These people are bleeding hearts. They want to serve. They want to help. But if you give them a number, if you transition them into a more revenue focused mandate without the proper support frameworks, scripting, mindset, support coaching, you will be setting them up for failure. That is too big of a jump to take. So this is a really good middle ground to start with because these are leading indicators. These are all things that I'm not going to say require less effort than those big things, but these are the things that you can install, I would say much more quickly than, numbers about what all these lagging indicators are. But these are also things that are coachable, right? The percentage of time that a client was asked for a referral, right? If somebody has apprehension, somebody has nervousness around that, you know how to coach through that. You've coached your sales team, you know how to coach through that. And same with the continuation offers. The Ascension readiness flags and the early win rate, that's a systems issue. You can fix that with your team because they're going to have the greatest feedback for you on what works and what doesn't there. This is all implementable relatively quickly. And so this is a really, really good, I find, middle ground. This is what I have all my clients install into their teams. And this is a really, really good middle ground because each of these things will then contribute as a lagging indicator to the things that you really want to be tracking, which of course are the revenue rates for each of those lines of income. Now, the math on this, to wrap up this video, is really, really fun. Let's say you have an upfront fee of $10,000 for your offer. Renewal rate, and I would say, and these are generous, renewal rate, I would say, is 1 out of every 20 will renew for another offer less, but we'll go with that. So 1 out of every 20 would be $333. An upsell, 1 out of every 10 are probably upselling into another offer that's higher margin on the back end, higher priced, higher margin. Again, that's generous, but we'll say 1,000. And referral, again, probably about 1 out of every 20 clients. So we'll say 333. That's 11,666. Client success with a revenue mandate, $10,000 upfront fee. The minimum benchmark I like to see for all my clients is that 1 out of every 10 clients are bringing you a referral that closes with 0 customer acquisition cost. To get into the math a bit more, it's for every 10 clients you have, you should be getting 5 referral conversations. One of those referral conversations at 20% close rate brings you your 1 client that then makes every other client 10% more valuable. But renewal is 1 out of every 10, so that's 1,000. Upsell is also, I say, 1 out of every 10, but the upsell is twice as high of a margin, aka worth twice as much to you than the upfront is. So that's where we get the 2 instead of just the 1. But that makes every client 20% more valuable. And then the referral revenue is, again, 1 out of every 10. I said referral for the renewal, but you get what I'm saying. Switch this. And all of that to be said is that's $14,000. So if you're closing 5 clients a month, 60 clients a year, that is $140,000 more per year. It's the same team, same overhead cost, but a completely different goal, completely different mandate, completely different culture, and everything in between. So if you would like personalized help in building out your client success team to be a revenue function of your business, not just a reactive babysitting function, comment the word audit below. I will send you a free personalized audit at the back end of your business and tell you exactly how you can be making more profit from every client that you close.